pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry. We will now be moving on to roll call. President Wadsworth?
Here.
Vice President Thies is here. Treasurer Sell.
Present.
Secretary Emanuele.
Here.
Chief Justice Nolan.
Here.
College Counsel Rossi. Here. Senator Wallach.
Here.
Senator Riola.
Here.
Senator Totino. Here. Pro Temp Schnorr.
Here.
Senator Walters. Absent. Senator Miles. Here. Senator Fisher.
Here.
Senator Blackwood.
Here.
Our Chief of Staff
Is
is excused. Our advisor.
Here.
CFB.
Here.
Wildcat Media.
Here.
Web.
here.
Wildcat Esports.
Here.
Our SAC rep is absent. And Res Life is absent. We will now be moving minutes and agenda. Do we have any discussion? Senator Yella.
I would like to motion to skip reports today.
Do we have a second? Seconded by Senator Wallach. Do we have any discussion on skipping reports? Senator Gunter? Oh, do we have any discussion on skipping reports? Wildcat Media.
Why?
We have like a couple big resolution and bills, so we don't want to waste any time on reports today.
Do we have any, Senator Fisher?
Can I motion on a motion?
You can amend a motion.
You can amend a
Can I
motion.
Oh, wait, no, we can't. He's the only one that can amend.
No, only the person who made the motion can amend their own motion, according to Robert's rules. You can suggest an amendment.
Can I suggest an amendment?
You may.
Instead of skipping reports, can we move reports?
Till after the end of the resolutions?
Do we have any further discussion? He's just, Senator Yella has shaken his head no. Do we have any further discussion on skipping reports for today? Seeing none, all those in favor of skipping reports? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All those not in favor? And all those who abstain? That passes 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 1, 1. We will, seeing as that has concluded, do we have any further discussion on the approval of minutes and agenda? Senator Totino.
I'd like to motion to move Bill 2324.11, the CFP policies and procedures to the beginning of new business.
Do we have a second? Seconded by Senator Fisher. Do we have any discussion on this motion? Senator Gunter?
I request bail looks at Telegram.
Okay. Do we have any further discussion on the motion? Senator Fisher?
Call the question.
I'm going to choose to not recognize that motion because we'd have to vote on the call to question and vote on this motion. Okay. Any further discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor of moving up the bill? All those who oppose? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And all those who abstain? This motion does not pass. 1-7-0. We'll now move back into the approval of minutes and agenda. Do we have any discussion on this? Senator Gunter.
Motion to move
All reports.
back into after open forum.
Okay, we have a motion to move all reports back in until after open forum. Do we have a second? Seconded by Senator Fisher. Do we have any discussion on this motion? Seeing no, Senator Wallach.
I thought we already were at the after report.
The original motion was to skip reports for the whole meeting.
Oh.
This would be to put reports back in, but after discussion of new business and old business. Does that clarify?
Yes.
Do we have any further discussion on this? Wildcat Media. So this is still the approval of minutes and agenda. There was a motion to bring back reports to the end of the agenda right before open forum. After open forum. Do we have any further discussion on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? All those who oppose? Oh, wait, all those in favor, raise your hands really high so I can see. There we go. All those who oppose? And all those who abstain. That motion does not pass 3-5-0. We will move back into the approval of minutes and agenda. Do we have any further discussion? Wildcat Media. We have a motion to move swear-ins to before old business. Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Fisher. Do we have any discussion on this motion? Seeing no discussion on the motion, all those in favor of moving swear-ins to before old business? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All those who oppose? Is that opposition? Oh, you're good. And all those who abstain?
I think I'm just as confused. There you go.
That motion passes 8-0-0. Swear-ins will now occur right before old business. Do we have any further discussion for the approval of minutes and agenda today? Senator Fisher.
Question.
Okay. We will now vote on the call to question. All those in favor to the call to question? All those who oppose? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All those who abstain? The call to question does not pass 1-6-1. Does anybody have any further discussion on the approval of minutes and agenda today? Seeing none, we will move into voting on the approval of minutes and agenda. All those who approve of the minutes and agenda for today? All those who oppose? And all those who abstain? That motion passes 8-0-0. We will now move on to announcements. We have no announcements. We will now move on to guest speakers. We have no guest speakers. Seeing as reports have been skipped for the day today, we will now move into swear-ins. All those who are being sworn in, please come to the center of the horseshoe.
Like right here. You ready? Okay. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, and state your name,
I, Natalia Hernandez,
will faithfully uphold the student government at Utica Constitution,
will faithfully uphold
student government at Utica
the student government at Utica
Constitution,
Constitution,
sorry, that was a lot, and carry out the duties of,
and carry out the duties of
state your organization and position,
Wildcat Media. Wait, no. Factory Times writer.
perfect, to the best of my ability,
To the best of my ability,
and will represent the students of SUNY Poly
and will represent the students of SUNY Valley
in a fair and unbiased manner.
in a fair and unbiased manner.
Congratulations. You're all set.
Seeing as swear-ins have been concluded, we will now move into old business. We have no old business. Old business has been concluded. We will now move into new business. Resolution 2324-10. Senator Wallachy.
Wait, I thought I was doing the bill.
I said resolution.
Oh. Motion to accept resolution number 2324-10.
Do we have a second? Seconded by Senator Totino.
We, the Senate of SUNY Poly Student Government at Utica, do hereby resolve the New York Business Plan Competition Mohawk Valley NYBPCMV Regional. The purpose of this resolution is to assist with the expenses associated with the spring 2024 NYBPCMV regional event hosted at SUNY Polytechnic Institute. Whereas this resolution will provide funding support for the NYBPC MV. This event will be held in Kinsella Hall and the Student Center on Friday, April 5th, 2024. We estimate that approximately 50 to 60 students will attend this event, and whereas this resolution will impact the several academic majors within the SUNY Poly student body by providing an academic event to enhance their educational experience outside the classroom and improve their entrepreneur skills, and whereas the student government at Utica, SGU, has been an essential sponsor and a huge supporter of the NYBPC MV in the past years, making the event possible for students. Therefore be it enacted the following transfer of funds totaling $4,600 to assist with the awards, meals, and printing for the NYBPC MV regional event hosted at SUNY Polytechnic Institute. This only a portion of the total $9,100 budgeted for all items in the attached detailed budget.
Alrighty. Did you receive the resolved portion underneath that?
Oh, I'll do that. Resolved, SGU sponsorship at the event will be published on all of the materials for the event, which includes handouts, programs, and appearance on the sponsor PowerPoint slideshow during the welcome ceremony. Miscellaneous additional comments. The following link provides a short description to help further understand the NYBPC process.
Alrighty, seeing as we have completed the reading of the resolution, we will now move into discussion. Senator Gunter.
Motion to table indefinitely.
Oh, gosh. Do we have a second to the motion to tabling indefinitely? Senator Fisher, do we have any discussion on an indefinite tabling of this resolution? Our president?
Could the Senate explain why they would like to do that? We do have, I will also add, we do have two guests here from the College of Business, so if you guys would like to explain to them about your decisions and things like that, that's probably best.
Senator Gunter.
So this bill goes against a few of our policies, one of them being cash prizes, which is a very big one that we really can't support. This event also does not support only SUNY Poly students, and seeing as we have, what would be numerous SUNY Poly students putting their activities fees into this, and it's not going back into the college, I don't see this as a fair bill because it's supporting non-SUNY Poly students and it's not putting back into the student body, and that's what our goal is, to help out and improve the life of the student body. I yield.
Do we have any further discussion on an indefinite tabling?
Do you guys want to say anything?
Yeah, if you want me to, I can. Yeah, I can explain that. So the bulk of the, hey guys, somehow this comes out there. So the bulk of the funding does go to SUNY Poly students because the bulk of the participants are SUNY Poly students. So we anticipate having about 40 students who are actually pitching in it total, and of that probably 25 to 30 will be SUNY Poly, and then the other 20 are the volunteers who are there all day helping, who then watch and learn as they help as well. And those are all SUNY Poly students, right? And so that's the bulk of it there. So and then in terms of the amount of money we're requesting is far less than the participation fee and the cash awards. So if you wanted to, you could limit this to the printing and food and eliminate the cash awards just from the description. So we could reduce the amount.
Do we have any further discussion? Senator Yella.
What are the expenses for printing?
Oh, so we have to print all kinds of posters, all kinds of brochures, the programs, there's lots. We have to, for the day of the event, we print a ton of programs. All of that's done in our printing center, and so they then charge us for that. That's what we have to pay for all that. And it actually costs more than I anticipate always. It's always around $1,000, plus or minus, right?
Senator Gunter.
I want to rescind my motion because we're still in that motion and we're having discussion about the bill itself.
The motion has been rescinded from the original participant. We will now move back into discussion of the original resolution. Do we have any further discussion on the resolution itself? Seeing no further discussion, Wildcat Media.
I'm not exactly know how to say this, but I'm gonna make a motion to remove money that would go to cash prizes and just do like printing and catering.
We have a motion to remove from the resolution cash prizes and participation fee here. That is $3,500 for cash awards and $2,000 to the participation fee. Do I have a second to the motion? Seconded by Senator Fisher. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Seeing no, Senator Gunter.
Bill for this resolution, we specified that it would go only to food, only to the catering costs. I don't know if it actually came through as just catering, and I wanted to verify that that was the case.
Last year, what we received, what I understood was for catering and for printing. Yeah, those two items.
Do we have any further discussion on the bill, on this motion? President Wadsworth.
Can I, point of clarification, what was the motion, what was your motion?
Yes.
Was to remove the cash prizes and participation.
So it would just be printing and food that we would pay for. Okay. Do we have any?
Sorry, I had to think about math.
Do we have any further discussion on this, Senator Gunter?
Can I request about immediately amend the motion to limiting the budget to giving funds to only the printing and
I believe that was the original motion.
The wording.
The wording. Okay. Do we have any further discussion after Wildcat Media? Certainly you can. Do I have a second to the amendment? Seconded by Senator Fisher. Do we have any discussion on the amendment of the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor to the amendment? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 11. All those who oppose? And all those who abstain? The amendment passes 8-0-0. Do we have any further discussion on the motion, President Wadsworth?
Question. So it is, to clarify, it is now only food and printing?
If the motion passes, yes.
Okay, so in that case, we would also need to change the amount given, because that would only add to, if, I'm not a math major, $3,100.
32, right? Is it 31? You're right, yes.
Yeah, so 3,100, so we'd want to change.
I'm
it.
not a math major.
It's okay. Well, I'm a business major, so there we go.
Have any further discussion on the current motion? Senator Gunter. We are in a motion.
Oh,
So I'm going to have to point of order that. Thank you. Do we have any further discussion on the motion? Seeing no further discussion on the it's President Wadsworth.
You can also amend your motion to change the total as well.
If you wanted to, just gonna put it out there. I yield. Wildcat Media.
I guess I will motion to amend my amended motion to have change the total to $3,100.
Is that all instances of the previous amount to $31? $3,100? Alrighty, so we have a motion to amend the previous motion to only have this resolution cover food and printing, as well as change all instances of the previous amount to $3,100. Do we have a second to the amendment? Seconded by Senator Walke. Do we have any discussion on the amendment? Seeing no discussion on the amendment, all those in favor of the amendment? 1, 2, 3. All those raise your hand super high for all in favor, if you are in favor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All those who oppose? And all those who abstain? This motion passes 7-0-1. Do we have any further discussion on the resolution? Pro Tem Shore. Whoa.
May I ask, what other sources of funding have you sought for this event?
We actually do have a local graduate of our programs here who is a part of this, who participates as a judge and has a company that he started up. He gives us a small amount as well, $500. And then we take the rest from the College of Business budget. the remaining amount is paid out of the College of Business budget, yeah.
Okay.
Do you have any further discussion on this? Pro Tem Schnorr, I'll go back to you.
I mean, I just want to make a statement in this. You know, when SGU's subsidiaries and organizations go to some of the colleges of the school, we're denied and told it's, SGU's funding that should be used for student activities. So I don't personally see the reciprocal fashion of this to the School of Business. I yield.
Do we have any further discussion on this? Did you want to, our treasurer?
So, sadly, I'm going to have to go against this, as we currently don't have as much allocated funds as we have been spending them in your goal for line 999, correct? As I say, 4 nines. But currently, our line 99 is mostly our projects we've put in for our reserves pool left, and we don't have as much funding left anymore. If you give me a few minutes, I can get you an actual number. But currently, we don't have that much money. I don't believe we will be able to cover about the 3,100.
I don't believe it specifies a line in here.
Yeah, it does.
Doesn't?
It does?
It does.
We don't have a line specified.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't-
Senator Yella.
I would like to table it to next week, make the changes, find out how much we have left in the line 999 and come back next week.
Are you tabling it back
Tabling
to
it.
the authors or tabling, because if we table it next week, it can't be changed.
Yeah.
Tabling it back to the authors? Alrighty, I have a motion to table the resolution back to the authors. Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Totino. Do we have any discussion on tabling this resolution back to the authors? Our president.
If Logan can find it in a few minutes, I think maybe we should just continue discussing it, as this is kind of, I don't want to say it's coming up soon, we do have a little while, but they need to know whether or not they need to seek other sources of funding. So I would recommend maybe just, if you have any further questions, ask your questions now, and Logan can calculate.
Do
Just
we
a thought.
have any further discussion on tabling this back to the authors? Seeing none, all those in favor of tabling this back to the authors? Is that approval?
I was gonna resend it,
Oh.
we're gonna go back into the discussion until.
So do you rescind your motion? Alrighty, the motion has been rescinded. We will move back into discussion of the Senate resolution. President Wadsworth.
I was waving to Moses, sorry.
Oh, I thought you had something to
No.
say. But Senator Guntert.
I think I heard you say how many from, we never know exactly until the applications are all done, and so the applications aren't officially submitted final until April 1st, and the event's on April 5th, right? But we anticipate that about 30% will be students from the region, because it is a regional competition, which actually helps the students to hear that it's a competition, right? And then the rest are SUNY Poly students. And of course, the volunteers are 100% SUNY Poly students, right? And then we have community members who come in and act as judges, but they give their time freely. We can't forget that. These are people that give a whole day free, and they don't charge us, and you don't pay for that. Yet you're getting the benefit of their expertise because they give feedback to all the students who participate, right? That's how we can make determinations. The other thing to keep in mind, too, is that students who win, the teams that win, can go on to the state level, and the state level awards up to $100,000 total, right? Across multiple teams, that's the total amount. So there's opportunity for that. And at that level, they get even more experience and feedback, right? It's kind of a more intensive competition, as you might imagine, when you get to the state level. So just to clarify that, right? That it's based on the history, yeah. I wish we would love to have, like, you may not like it, but we'd love to have, like thousands of students participating. I think it'd be more fun. A lot of that would mean many more from the outside, because there are a total of 12 schools in our EDC, right? And so those are the schools that then come to this competition here at Mohawk Valley at our school. But unfortunately, most of the action is our own students, because it is convenient. It's convenient. Now, if some other school hosted in our region and we had to go there, we'd have to then pay for busing and other things. We might even have to pay for you to stay overnight, so then all of a sudden there would be other costs that you don't have now. So don't overlook the convenience factor, which is why I think we have mostly SUNY Poly students participating anyway. And certainly all the volunteers are SUNY Poly students because it is here, right? So just to give some clarifications, if that helps.
Do we have any further discussion on the resolution? Our secretary.
Okay, so all schools in Mohawk Valley are going to be participating in this, right?
They're invited, but most don't. They're
The
invited.
invitation's still out there, right?
Yeah, it stays out there, yeah.
So if they're allowed to come here and participate, well, first off, are their student government's going to be pitching in as well, or is it only this student government that's going to be paying? Because if we're the only ones paying, then I don't really understand why we're paying for food when all SUNY Poly students, for the most part, have their meal swipes and the thing in the campus center, when you swipe, it lets you in. So
Yeah.
I understand if other schools are coming, but I think they should also have to pitch in a little if they do come.
Yeah, so far, there's been such a small amount of them participating. It's been from one or two other schools that we haven't made this a big deal because we don't want to create a barrier to them participating. So we haven't so far required that. As this grows and gets bigger, we do anticipate doing that, like charging them a kind of regional participation fee. That would then cover some of these expenses. But for now, and that's where the College of Business, the dean's office, picks up a lot of the expense as well, right?
Do we have any further discussion on the resolution? Our treasurer.
So, going through all the math on our I'm going with assumed for right now for line 99, we only have $400 left in that line at this time for that we have allocated other than from our reserves. Reserves is still for our projects we got going on, and so with what we allocated at the beginning of the year, we only got really $400 left.
Our president.
Can I ask? I don't know the history of this line, which is why I'm gonna yield to the treasurer. But is this something that could come out of academic funding? And if so, how much is in that line? I'll yield to the treasurer.
Give me a quick sec to pull up that line. Funding still has its full 5,000.
5,000.
Do we have any further discussion on the resolution? Our esports team.
You stated that the participants of this are by application. Does that mean that students may be denied from this, or is it just a sign-up form?
No, they're typically not. They have to go, it's a sign-up form, yeah. They have to meet requirements. They have to be a student in an institution in the state of New York. But if you're a student in an institution of higher education in the state of New York, within our district, our REDC district, then you're automatically in, yeah. So that's all. It's just a way of making sure, because we don't want non-students. They have a prohibition against non-students, other than as minority stakeholders, but they cannot present or participate in the media.
Do we have any further discussion? Our advisor.
Thank you for being here today. We appreciate you. I'm just wondering, for point of information, what that conversation looks like with the College of Business in terms of the funding piece of it each year.
Well, I mean, it goes to the dean, and we say, basically, if we want this to happen, we're going to have X amount of money, right? And we always kind of plan on you guys giving us some money, because we typically do this every year, come to you, right? So we do kind of allocate, we say like 3 to 4, in the range of 3 to 4 will be taken care of by you guys, based upon the history, and the rest the dean will pick up. The dean's office will pick up. That's how it goes. And, yeah, I mean, we're always, we're not a school that's flowing with a lot of money, so sometimes it's tight, but the business school feels strongly that this is good from both an academic learning perspective and a community relations perspective as well, and getting the community to come in and see what we're doing, and to bring those experts on board to give students feedback, right?
Thank you.
Our president.
So I know that obviously signups don't end till April 1st. Based on last year's numbers, how many non-SUNY Poly students, judges, local community members, or things like that, how many of them were invited to dine with us or to just be included in this event?
Well, we'll have 12 to 15 judges, depending on how many tracks, and we'll know that once all the students have submitted, right? And the non-SUNY Poly students are looking at around 10 to 12, you know?
Do we have any further discussion on the resolution? Our president.
Follow-up question. Sorry, how much, so I know you have the breakdown of lunch and breakfast and lunch?
Yeah, there's a breakfast, there's
Yep.
lunch, and then there's a farewell reception.
Okay. Do you know about how many, I'm assuming you're working with Aramark on this.
Yes.
Did they give you an estimate of how much per person?
Oh, absolutely. I could tell you exactly. Yeah, that's how, everything here is broken out. I mean, we have all the breakouts for that. We
Yeah,
did
would
not
you-
include that detail, but we have all that detail.
Would you be able to provide,
Yes.
say how much it is per person?
I can give you their estimate sheets, yes. They give, that's how I know the number, because we meet with them, we say, and that gets refined the closer we get. Once we know the real counts, we do
Right.
it based on last year in our history initially, and then once we get really close and we have the counts are as tight as they're going to probably be, then we kind of update it with them, yeah.
Do we have any further discussion on the resolution? Senator Yella.
This question goes to the president. Doesn't the academic funding go to library every year? What if we use it? What are we going to do with that?
Our president.
So yes, to my understanding, the academic funding line is typically used for academically sponsored things, but primarily it is used to donate textbook funding to the library for students to utilize textbooks. In my opinion, if this was something the Senate said that they wanted to fund, that line could be used. Obviously, that would take away the ability to use it as for textbooks for students for the remainder of the semester. I'll yield, sorry.
Do we have any further discussion on the resolution? Seeing no further discussion on the resolution, we will move into a period of, did you want a motion line or no?
They need to
Okay, Senator Gunter.
Can we specify a line number that we're going to pull from?
991.
Our president.
Yes, if you are looking at passing this, you would need to specify add a line as to which line you want it to come out of, whether it is academic funding, whether it's special projects, something. So I'll yield to the Senate so that they can, pizzazz.
Do we have any further discussion? Senator Gunter? Our treasurer?
Line, hold on, I just had it pulled up. Academic funding, line 5991.
Do we have any further discussion? Senator Gunter?
Into enacted, oh, no, from resolved, not enacted. Pull the funding from line 995, was it? 991,
5991.
5991.
You can be the three numbers.
Okay, sounds good. We have a motion to add into this resolution to have this come out of line 5991. Do we have a second? Seconded by Senator Wallachy. Do we have any discussion? Seeing no discussion on the motion, all those in favor? All those who oppose? And all those who abstain? That passes 5-1. Do we have any further discussion on the resolution? Seeing no further discussion on this resolution, we will move into a period of voting. All those in favor of passing the resolution? Is that?
Passing the motion, right?
Passing the motion.
Passing the motion.
Passing the motion, not bad. All those in,
Wait.
oh wait, I know, I just passed the motion, didn't I not?
Point of information, yes.
Yeah, it was 5-1.
Okay, sorry. Everybody looked confused. Figured I'd double check. My bad.
The resolution, we are now back onto discussion of resolution. Do we have any further discussion on the resolution? Wildcat Media.
We just thank our audience members for coming out and speaking. Why they would like this one.
Putting them through this chaos.
Thank you. Thank you.
This chaos.
Do we have any further discussion on the resolution? Seeing, our audience member.
So, hello? So, I'm Sneha. So, thank you for inviting to the meet.
Yes. Alrighty. Do we have any further discussion on the resolution? Seeing none, we will move into a period of voting. All those in favor of the resolution? All those who oppose? And all those who abstain? I don't know what happens when all of the Senate abstains.
Me neither.
Can I have a motion for a revote?
We go into a
Yeah.
revote, yeah.
Remember that abstentions are only supposed to be used if you have a conflict of interest. So if you have a conflict of interest, you may use abstention, but if you do not have a conflict of interest, please do not use abstention. We have a call for a revote. Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Gunter. I don't believe there is discussion on a call for a revote, so we'll move directly into a vote for the revote. All those in favor of a revote? All those who oppose? And all those who abstain? Is that an abstention or? I'm going to redo that. All those in favor of a revote, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Raise them high.
Raise them high, because I can't see you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All those who oppose a revote. And all those who abstain. The revote passes 8-0-0. We will now move back into voting for the resolution. All those in favor of the resolution. All those who oppose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And all those who abstain. The resolution does not pass 0-8-0. Seeing as this resolution has been concluded, we will now move into our next piece of legislation, Senate Bill 2324-11. Before we do that, I would like to thank our audience members one more time for being present here. We appreciate your time today. Alrighty. Alrighty, our CFB bill will be read by Senator Fisher. You may proceed.
Bill number 2324-11.
Seeing as this is a committee bill, you may proceed.
We, the members of the student government at Utica of SUNY Poly as represented in the Senate, do enact as follows. The purpose of this bill is to nullify the current CFB policies and procedures and instate a new CFB policies and procedures.
Alrighty, so previously I had asked if our Chief Justice was comfortable chairing this meeting, so I will now ask if the Chief Justice would like to chair the meeting. Do you accept?
I accept the chair.
Seeing as the chair has accepted, our new chair is the Chief Justice. I'm gonna move over there and talk.
Do we have any discussion on this bill? Senator Gunter.
So I had a club president reach out to me in regards to concerns they had with this. It was ASCE, and they get funding from donations, and they were bringing a concern to me saying that they have donations that they bring in, and if these donations are put into their club account, and then at the end of the academic year zeroed, the people that give them the funding aren't really happy with that it's not staying with the club and the chapter of ASCE. I don't know exactly what they wanted me to do with this, but I wanted to bring it forward. I also had another concern, whereas new clubs or platform clubs that start mid-year are able to request $100 in extra funding, and as of right now, with this policies and procedures, they cannot. So it takes away an opportunity for new clubs to get some funding. For example, Ski Club, they had to do a fundraiser to get funding, whereas right now they can request $100 in extra funding if they have not already, but with this they cannot. And I yield.
Our Vice President.
Hi, so I can definitely
speak on the donations portion. I don't know a lot about AUX services, but what I do know from what I've spoken, fundraisers are not touched. They're in like a separate part of the account. So if we were to reset the budgets, the donations or fundraisers wouldn't be touched, just whatever they receive from student government, if I am correct in that statement. Yes.
John, if you could help us
Yeah,
answer that, it's appreciated.
Okay, oh, is it? There we go. So I had talked to Dan as well. So the way we record any fundraising now is on a separate line, as Ava said. So we can determine how much is brought into a club based on fundraising and any sponsorships, donations that they receive. So that's easy enough for us to track. The monies that they get from CFB is on a separate line, and we can distinguish between the two. The challenging part is going to be, though, when this gets implemented, and maybe it's something I could talk about offline with Ava or whoever, or Logan, but it's going to be seeing when this gets implemented, what of the balance that they have is remaining from the fundraising and the sponsorships versus CFB money. So if I may, I think we could look at possibly looking at when you implement this, anything that they have up to that point, as a balance stay, and then the year that goes into effect, any CFB money they get and they don't use within a given year, then we can start looking at putting it back into reserves. Otherwise, trying to go back all the other years might be a little bit challenging to do that. Even though we have it on a separate account line, it is all blended together, and when it rolls forward, it's all blended together. It's a club roll forward, if that makes sense. It's only in the current year, so it's like, I think I had answered this question at the budget meeting. When it rolls over and starts again, it's the club beginning fund balance. At that point, we kind of reset the bar like on a slot machine, and the fundraising line is back to zero until they do any fundraising or sponsorships in that current year. It's not like the amount that they fundraise carries over onto that line in the next year. It gets reset, and it's all melded together in one club fund balance. So it's only separate for the given academic year, and then it gets rolled up. So we would have to go back and try to separate that, which would be that would be challenging to do. Bailey?
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's possible to look, so when everything is pulled out, it goes into reserves. No, it goes back to their club budget, right?
Correct. So we put everything, once we close out the year, we kind of do a club roll forward. So whatever their balance was at the end of the fiscal year, that's what they start the next year with, and it's just called beginning balance. And then they have the ins and the outs throughout the year, whether it's stuff they bought or spent, CFB money funding, as well as any sponsorships and fundraising.
Do we have any further discussion? Vice President Fees.
Touch on platform clubs. As it stands, many of our kitten clubs don't request extra funding. Only a handful do. Most of them run on the zero budget. But that isn't to say, right, as a platform club, it is impossible to get money, right? Like, if you wanted to hold an event with catering, Webb has a specific line, I believe, to help clubs. And we have been so open about that. SGU, if they wanted to ask from line 999 or something along those lines, academic departments, it's not impossible to get extra funding. It just wouldn't come from CFB because it's very difficult to budget for, future clubs that don't exist yet. And we can certainly take a look at, using possibly the reserve pool to pull some money for those platform clubs once they've activated, So we do the reserve pool in October or November, and anybody that activates from there may have the opportunity. But as it stands, that's something for the next, I think, generation of SGU members to figure out, it's just very difficult at this point to predict everything that goes on.
Senator Gunter.
So I did go and find
the articles and sections in which, it has these, in our current CFB policies and procedures, it is Article 3, Section 1, just the first one there. It's saying they can request $100, and in our current ones, there is nothing. I did want to highlight that I had spoken to Zach Reynolds privately elsewhere, and I had an idea of, right now we have, and I'll yield to CFP very quickly, how many clubs do we currently have active? Okay. So we have 34 currently active clubs. If we had $100 per active club just set aside, that's more than enough. That's $3,000 at least that we can have for clubs to request funding, which is way more than enough. That is just an arbitrary number. That is not any meaning behind that. But it is important to have that opportunity available for the clubs in the circumstances that they do need just a little bit of extra help. It's not saying that they don't often, but it's saying that every now and then they might need it. They might not request $100 every time, but it'll be there for each club to have $100 of extra. And I yield.
Our president.
I think that it's a responsibility. It's a learning tool to be given this much funding. Comes with the responsibility of budgeting for it. SGU budgets, and we don't have the ability to go and ask for an extra $100. Right? And we have grown to learn how to budget, and it might take some clubs some time to learn, but I think that even having $100, like $100 can get too far, first of all, for any club, but it also gives you the opportunity to learn. If you need extra funding, what other avenues can you go through? How did you budget in the past? How is that going to fluctuate? And understanding, again, that responsibility piece. You can't be handed thousands of dollars for a club without learning how to budget for it. And to Vice President Clay's point, there are plenty of other options on campus. You can partner with the Wellness Center. You can partner with other clubs. You can partner with other orgs. You can fundraise. Fundraisers are enough, platform clubs and all clubs can fundraise. I don't believe in this that they're required to. They might be. Not in this policy. Yeah. So they're not required to, but they can. So there are other avenues. It should be SGU's responsibility to be handing them money for them not being responsible for the budgeting process, if that makes sense.
Senator Gunter.
I want to add that this idea is only for platform clubs. It's not for clubs that are, as it says in the new policies and procedures we're proposing, in the tier 1, 2, 3, 4. It is only for platform clubs that are applying and becoming clubs mid-year.
Vice President Fees.
Sort of like piggyback off of what Bailey said, which is a very cliche saying. We also don't ask anything of the platform clubs. I know so many students, right, who want to advertise their club, who want to do things, but they just don't want the certain amount of responsibility that comes with being like a kitten level club, right? You have to hold events that are open to the student body. You have to do these things, right? So in the middle of the year, right, if you were activating in the middle of a year, you wouldn't have been asked to budget. You don't have to churn in all of the forms and the criteria. I just don't feel like it would be fair to hand out, right, here's $100, because you activated. I guess we could ask for a budget, but in that case, again, CFB didn't budget for those individuals. And I mean, if it becomes an issue, there are certainly avenues, right, of reforming this policy. This is just the groundwork to create a better, more equitable system. And I like, having the learning experience. Where can I get funding from? Because that's just a part of life, right? When we activate or do things in a mid-fiscal year, in every other circumstance, you don't get money, right? You just are there, right? When I think of businesses or offices, right? You aren't just handed money, you're expected to do a certain amount of things. So, having that opportunity to just I don't know, I'm trying to figure out a way to word this, right? Because we don't ask them to do anything other than turn in club training and Title IX training, which takes $0. So that's my piece of it. Thanks, Rick.
Our advisor.
Yes, to add on to all of that. So part of it, if we're using ski club, for example, that you brought up, Senator Gunther, not a great example. It is the club's responsibility. It's not up to the Senate. It's not up to any other student leadership in this room to determine, assume when a club wants to go active, right? We do ask them to abide by certain, like the basic steps of you need 6 members. 4 of those have to be in the exec board. You have to have a constitution, policies, procedures, all that. That is totally based on students and them wanting to become active right there. So we can't assume when a club is going to activate, if it's new, if it's a returning club, anything like that, right? So that's solely based on them. But to VP Fiza's point too, this is a learning moment for these clubs when they do activate, whether they're new or reactivating in this case too. Part of this, developing this new tier system too, is that learning and growing process. A big part of it was the budgeting piece as well too. Hence these new roles that are also going to be proposed in this new bill too for policies and procedures. There is going to be someone in CFB that holds a position that is going to help these clubs with their budgeting and be able to kind of present those before each new fiscal year. So that's a piece of it right there too. And if you realize, like, I only came in the middle of the year, okay, maybe next year, let's submit a budget, and let's figure out what we'll actually do right there too. That hopefully will steamroll and pick up speed to know that for future generations, this is the way to do it, right? And if we want to produce more for our student body, for the institution, then yes, we do have to put more into it. I yield.
CFB.
So if you guys are asking kind of what I think on this, so I will be completely transparent. I'm kind of in the middle about this. While, yes, we are basically teaching them saying, hey, this is some other avenues to look at it. Go to web, look at Wildcat Media, look at esports, and going through other avenues. No matter how you put it on the other side, which kind of conflicts me a little bit, is that we will still be removing an opportunity for students to ask for money. So that's why I'm a little bit in the middle about that. I yield.
Vice President.
It's not removing an avenue, right? Like, they still have the ability to go to different places, like Bailey said, right? Like, when you come into the middle of a fiscal year under any other environment, nobody just gives you money, right? Because you're there, right? You have to go and you have to ask for things. There's many avenues, right? Like Bailey said, the Wellness Center has a budget. Title IX usually has a budget to some degree to help people do what they need to do. There's so many other avenues outside of us just handing out money. I yield.
Esports.
Assisting in these new clubs with other avenues?
Vice President Fee.
So if you look under the contracts, there's 2 positions, the director of club operations and the director of club, either finances or funding, I forget what I called it. But both of them will be responsible for gathering information regarding helping clubs. So your operation person will deal mostly with like volunteer services, events, community service, that sort of thing, and then sort of compiling opportunities under that scope. And then your financial advisor can help with anything finance-wise. So they should know your avenues, your financial policies. They should know who to go to or how to help in that sense. And those 2 people should be working together to create those opportunities and to assist our platform clubs in building that up. And so will the club manual as well. I'm working on a brand new club manual. I'm doing it Q&A style, where you just go to the side, click on your question, you get an answer, and that'll certainly be part of the club manual. I'm not going to write that all by myself. I am going to get a group of club members who are interested in helping, talking about like what are we missing from the club manual, what is not, what is going well, what is not, and getting their input there. So there will be somebody to assist. Also, clubs have advisors, and CFB has an advisor, so we have, for lack of a better term, adults in the room to help us with that. So,
Senator Gunter.
To our treasurer.
This is going completely away from what you guys are talking about, because I was just reviewing something that I mentioned, I think, a couple weeks back. So, give me a second to find it. If you go to Article 3, the club funded annual budget process, Section 3.1.2, clubs are being given 30 minutes per budget committee. I was about to say treasurer committee, budget committee. And we have 34 clubs, correct? At the moment, 34. Air quotes. So I did some little mathies. I wanted to check something. So if they were given 30 minutes per meeting, it would be 17 meetings I would have to hold, along with about 3 extra meetings for orgs and SGU to have their budgets reviewed as well. I don't feel that's going to be the best. So I did 2 different time allocations as well to see how well it would fit. I did 15-minute meetings and 10-minute meeting, well, not 10 minutes and 15-minute meetings, but 15 minutes and 10 minutes to present their budgets. For 15 minutes, it'd be about 8.5 meetings. And then for 10 minutes, it would be about 6 meetings. I yield.
Senator Gunter.
Going to the contract a little bit, I think some of the names are a little bit redundant. We have the CFB Director of Club Funding and the CFB Records Manager. These are dealing with CFBs. There's no reason to say CFB within the title itself.
Esports.
I think that's just semantics. Changing the name, it doesn't matter. I would prefer if someone is specifically I'm the president of esports. I think having the name in there is fine, just so people know exactly what they're doing. Because just if I'm I'm the director of club funding, or if I'm just the record manager for what club, having CFB there is fine.
Do we have any further discussion? Esports.
So I want to bring up, to go off what Logan was saying, if clubs are going to be requesting funding already at a budget committee, why are they being put into tiers with a maximum amount of funding that they can get? So if I'm going to have to go to budget committee anyway to get my club approved, why, if I have, let's say, 19 members, am I limited to $9,000 when the budget's already going to be approved or denied?
Vice President Fees.
I'm not really sure, what you're getting at. So, we put active members in there because, right, if your club has 4 people, I really don't see, 4 only, what's the least you can have in here? 6 active members, I don't see a ton of reason to need $9,000. So when we're looking at the 15 to 19 active members, right, you're gonna go, they're gonna check the engage list of your members, and if you're falling outside of that range, let's say you have 14 members, then you could request the maximum under tier 2. Does that kind of answer? I wasn't really certain.
Well, it's just my question was,
Yeah.
if we're already going to the committee for budgets to be approved, why is there an additional hurdle for the clubs at a dollar amount? I don't think that, there's kind of the thing of, what is the budgeting for if there's a limited amount of money that they're already having?
Okay. I'll yield to the president.
Thanks. Thank you, Chair. So I think you're thinking about backwards. So I think that when a club goes to budget committee, they can ask for as much money as they want. Except I think max is what, 50,000 something. 15 something.
So they have that 15,000 because a club probably should not receive more than
15 grand a year.
That's a lot. But they can go.
Any club can go and request max of $15,000.
If they get that $15,000, that is what tier they will fall into for the next year.
Okay.
And then so you'll see each tier is requested to do a certain number of events.
Okay.
So then those, if they get $15,000, then that is the amount of events that they'll need to do with
That $15,000. So they don't need to do that many events and then they'll get $15,000. They'll get the $15,000 and then do many events. I'm going to yield back.
Well, my question would be then, so I'm only confused about, it says, let's say I'm a new club, I request $15,000, and it was approved by budget committee, but I only have 19 members. Then that's where I'm more confused. Why are we adding this active member requirement when we, just there? Why is there an active member requirement? Yield to Vice President Fees.
I understand your question now. So if you request the 15 grand and you're approved for the 15 grand and then you reactivate and you only have 19 members, we won't take away your funding because at the time of approval, you had the 20 members, right? So now, right, let's say you had the 20 members and 4 of them were graduating seniors. You come in with 16 members and your 15 grand. Now it's up to the club to do the advertising necessary to recuperate who you lost in that time. And hopefully, we have tons of opportunities for recuperating members. There is both of the club fairs that we have. You can go out and you can table for new members, engage. It's sort of where, again, right, like we are giving you this very large sum of money, and now you are responsible for this. So like with like Spider-Man over here, with great responsibility, or with great power comes great responsibility. With a lot of money, we're giving you a lot of responsibility with that money. So like you get more freedom, but you also have to now are under the challenge to be responsible with that freedom and recuperate as necessary. Does that sort of answer? Cool.
Our audience member. Hello, I am Joshua Bump. I am a student body leader. I'm a president of a club. So I've talked to my e-board about this, and I've talked to my club members about this. I've talked to other club execs about this, and from what I have gathered, we all really like this bill. I know you guys are going through a lot of semantics right now and trying to get this as perfect as you can, but from just the general overview, this provides us a lot more flexibility. It allows us to do a lot more. We're all, I'm not going to say all, but everyone I've talked to is really excited about this. And by experience with CFB, there's been so much opportunity, not just from CFB getting funding, but talking to Web, working with Web has been really amazing. I've worked with just other like school faculty members, deans and stuff. There is so much opportunity, and I feel like this, is it a bill or resolution?
Bill.
This bill, again, fantastic so far, and we approve it, Poly Pride, and my roommate is actually the president of ASCE. He did enjoy it. It was just the whole losing the fundraising stuff.
Yeah.
I yield?
Yes. Are you
Vice
using back to
President.
me or?
Yes.
Okay. So I have spoken to Dan in the past, and the main concern is he has a ton of money saved up, and he just doesn't want to lose that. I 100% totally get that, right? That is years worth of funding that he has been saving up, right? So I'm hoping that, right, I only have a limited amount of time in my position as the vice president, which is sad, but also like it's time for me to fly out of the nest here and go somewhere different, do my thing. But that's sort of where I can put in my transition document, right, like, let's work on this as well, and I can train the next vice president to come up with the solution for that. Because to be completely honest, I don't have a solution, right? Like, and I'm trying to come up with one, but, you know, my brain is only so knowledgeable under the funding aspect. I just want to get the groundwork laid, and then we can sort of work out the kinks from there. Because I am not going to say, right, like, I worked with a ton of people to write this, that this is an infallible document. Because to say that is to, right, ignore that I have personal flaws and ignore that I can look over something, right, like just like any other person can. But hopefully this lays the groundwork, and once we get the ball rolling with this, right, we will be able to find those kinks and get them out of the hose. So. There's my 2 cents. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I yield.
Senator Gunter.
Motion to limit discussion until 1:45.
That's House rules.
Seeing as that is House rules, I will not recognize that motion. Our treasurer.
So, I'm actually going to do this. I want senators' opinions on this, please, because it actually is a genuine thing because I will make a so move after I get some feedback from the senators. Club meetings, when clubs come to meet with budget committee, 30 minutes is not going to work at all. So either I'd like you guys to discuss with me, or just generally 15 or 10 minutes for them to come present their budgets. I yield.
Our president.
I want to our advisor, because on our 6.5-hour drive to NACA this weekend, I learned the way that they used to do it at RPI. Could you share that, please?
Absolutely, thank you. So during my time at RPI as advisor to, I don't know, they have over 100 very active clubs at RPI, very involved students there. Budgeting process was over the course of a weekend, an entire weekend, meaning Friday night all the way till Sunday early evening or so. Myself and my peers, the other staff members, we had anywhere from 40 to 50 clubs apiece. We went through every single line with every single club down to the last penny. I'm not saying that that is the correct way to do it. And to Treasurer's Self's point in discussion with the Senate right here too, consider that We don't have over 100 clubs. I don't think we will. It'll be a little bit before we get to that level right there too, but consider there's more than a handful of clubs that aren't going to request tier 2 or tier 3 in this process. So theoretically speaking, they will take a lot less time than that right there too. Maybe that's how you want to consider grouping them up and having those open, budget committee times for them. I yield.
Senator Yella.
While I agree with that, there might be few clubs that might be taking more than 30 minutes because we can't get to all of it. While also, it says maximum 30 minutes, but I think we definitely at least change that to 15 minutes because if we do the math, it's 17 meetings. We don't even have 17 meetings for the rest of the semester. We probably have like 7 or 8 at the most, so.
Vice President Fees.
We could also do it via tier, right? Like if you are requesting to be in tier 1, you're allotted 10 minutes, tier 2, 10 minutes, or 15 minutes, I don't know, something along those lines. You could tier it, right? Because like going over a $1 to a $999 budget is really different and takes way less time than a $9,000 to a $15,000 budget. Like your $15,000 budgets, which are going to be your larger clubs that do a lot of out-of-state competitions, right? Like I don't know any off the top of my head. I also don't want to like call out any club if I don't have knowledge on them. So yeah, but like our clubs that are doing that kind of thing, they're going to take far more time than somebody who's like, I want to have 2 events and I have $300 for the semester, right? Like totally different, like time commitments. So you could always tier it like that, right? Like tier 1 gets 10, tier 2 gets like 13, tier 3 gets, I don't know off the top of my head, but I'll yield to our treasurer.
So, okay, to go at it a little more, I'm actually going to use the budget season, which is spring, as a calendar event right now. I'm going to go with this year's for the moment. So if we were to say we put it into place this year, first 2 weeks is about like everyone's getting back used to being back on campus. There will be not really anything budget related going on those first 2 weeks. Starting after that, it will be hit the ground running. You have 8 meetings to get budgets in because by the end of March, the treasurer usually has to have the budget in by the first week of April for any debates to go on because it takes 2 weeks to pass the Senate, and that's assuming it might get tabled by 1 week. If it gets tabled, you got the first three weeks of April to get the budget officially approved, and then after that, the treasurer has to play the runaround game, get signatures from the SGU president, their own. I believe auxiliary has to get signed off on it as well. There's a bunch of signatures that you have to get for the budget to be approved. And so technically, we have a window of 8 weeks for the clubs to come meet with budget committee to actually hammer away at budgets. I yield.
Our advisor.
Thank you. Yeah, so out of respect of time and trying to figure this out, because I also am not a math major or anything like that, so I'll leave that to you geniuses. But I put that back on the clubs as well too, right? If they are given a certain amount of time, that's part of growth, that's part of learning development, that's part of adulting is time management, right? If it's 15 minutes and that's what the math comes out to be, then you have 15 minutes to present your budget, right? If it's up to 20 minutes, same thing, right there too, and that's it, right? So they will have time to prep, they're given time to prep, you have to present your budget by this time right here, so you have that deadline right there too. Be ready. Not everybody from the club has to show up, obviously, but leadership does, and just say, okay, be ready, are you prepared? You are, great. CFB will be there along the way to help them prepare that budget and meet those deadlines.
Point of information, we have 5 minutes left before open forum, so if you would like more time than that, please make a motion to move open forum back. Our president.
I have 2 questions. I did step out, so I apologize if I missed something. So one, I think it's important to remember that we can make it different time slots for different tiers. I think it would be a lot of logistics, but you could say if you're requesting tier 1, you get 15 minutes. If you're requesting tier 2, you get 30. If you're requesting tier 3, you get 45. You could change it to that. Not saying it's a great idea, saying it's an option. My second question, which I don't know who to yield to, so I'm just going to yield to the
Oh, will the budgets for the clubs need to be presented to the budget committee before they present it? I don't know if that makes sense. Why I'm asking is because I think it's important to, the budget committee, if they have the budgets beforehand, they are gonna be able to read through them in a more efficient manner,
read it on their own time, then prepare questions that they might have during those 15 minutes. It just might make us go a little bit faster, so I'm going to yield.
Vice President Fees.
So they have to submit, in order to be able to go onto this, I believe I wrote it like this, I could always reread, you have to have your budget in before to the director of club funding. So you can't just like submit it on that day. I can also like look through this and see like, right, because like to be honest with you, when I brought this to the floor, I didn't expect this to like fully go through either today or next week. I was kind of expecting it to be tabled with the intent of now everybody's seen it right at the same time. We're not bouncing between committee, CFB, and another committee. So I can always take a look there and say like, right, you have to submit this off like, I don't know, 72 hours before your meeting with budget, because budget's probably going to have, right, who's going to submit when by that point, right, generally speaking-ish. So, right, like, you know, I don't know, chess club, you're submitting next week. Just a reminder, you need to have your budget in, you know, 3 days beforehand so that the treasurer can send out your budget to people. So I can always add that in there. Maybe I have something in there, but I can always reread. I yield, sorry.
Do we have any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, we'll move into a period of voting.
Bill.
Seeing as this is a bill, this will be in old business next week. Seeing as there is nothing left in new business, we'll move into open forum. And I will yield the chair back to our vice president.
Oh my gosh, I accept the chair. Do we have any discussion? Oh, before we move into open forum, can we please take a moment to thank John Reel for spending his time here with us and answering any questions that we had? Thank you. Seeing as that has concluded, we will now move into a period of open forum. Do we have any discussion for our open forum? Seeing Senator Ayala. Okay, we have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Totino. Do we have any discussion on adjournment? There's no discussion on adjournment. I rescind that. We will now move into a period of voting for adjournment. All those in favor of adjourning? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All those who oppose? And all those who abstain.